Four states getting ready to close right now at the top of the hour. We're talking about Alabama, Massachusetts, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. Lots of delegates at stake tonight. This is the second round of closings. We're going to share the numbers with you right now and some major projections. First of all, CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the Alabama Republican presidential primary, another state going to Donald Trump. CNN also projects that Donald Trump will carry Massachusetts, the Republican presidential primary in Massachusetts, another win for Donald Trump. A third win right now at this hour. Donald Trump, CNN projects, will also carry Tennessee. 3 wins right now for Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton, we project Hillary Clinton will be the winner in both Alabama and Tennessee. 2 important wins for Hillary Clinton right now. You see Alabama, 53 delegates at stake. In Tennessee, another 67 delegates. Hillary Clinton is the winner in both of those states. 2 more wins for Hillary Clinton right now at the top of the hour. We have a key race alert we want to share with you right now as well. Let's go first to Oklahoma on the Republican side. A close contest over there based on our exit polls. Ted Cruz at 32%. Donald Trump and Marco Rubio at 27%. Those are exit poll estimates. In Massachusetts on the Democratic side, estimates 52% for Bernie Sanders, 46% for Hillary Clinton. Close contest there. In Oklahoma on the Democratic side as well, similarly, Bernie Sanders 51%, 46% for Hillary Clinton. Those are estimates based on the exit polls. Remember, these exit polls are based on our early survey of voters as they left their polling locations. The final outcome may be different. We can expect those numbers, by the way, to change throughout the night. So let's take a look at the wins so far tonight. For Donald Trump, he has won 4 states: Georgia, Alabama, Massachusetts, and Tennessee. Similarly, Hillary Clinton, she has won 4 states: Georgia, Virginia, Alabama, and Tennessee. Bernie Sanders, we have projected, wins his home state of Vermont. You see that right there. Let's go back to Jake Tapper. Jake.
Thanks, Wolfie. It's so interesting. We have right now Hillary Clinton projected to have won 4 contests. Donald Trump projected to have won 4 contests. Let's talk about right now some of the surprises we're seeing. Right now, much more competitive, and it's still early. We don't have the final results, but Oklahoma much more competitive on the Republican side than one might have thought.
That's right. In fact, I just got a text from a senior Cruz campaign source saying that they are feeling better than they expected in Oklahoma tonight as they're watching the results come in, just like we are. Now, we should say and underscore that the Ted Cruz campaign, going back several months before they realized what a force Donald Trump would be, they were hoping to sweep the South.
Right.
They were hoping that this would be a day where they would knock out all of these states. And you just saw Wolf report that Donald Trump has won several of the southern states. That
3: Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia.
Can we just take a step back?
Yeah.
That kind of a brash billionaire from New York just won several of the sort of ruby red southern states on the Republican side. It is kind of amazing. And when you think about it, not knowing the kind of voter he's appealing to, but just kind of taking a step back, you never would have thought about that.
Let's go to Sarah Murray, who's at Trump headquarters in Palm Beach, Florida. Sarah Murray, we've already projected this evening that Donald Trump will win 4 states. That's not yet running the table, but it's a good ways on the way to running the table.
That's right, Jake. I mean, that's a pretty big lead so far in Super Tuesday. And the Trump campaign is aware that if it was anyone not named Trump that we were talking about here, they would probably already be referred to as the presumptive Republican nominee. But they are fully aware of this anti-Trump sentiment, the never Trump movement. And that's why they're telling me that even if they have a big sweep tonight, they're still not going to come out from tonight feeling like they have locked this up. When I spoke with campaign manager Corey Lewandowski earlier, he told me the way the math works, you still can't win all the delegates. And the only thing that matters in this race is the delegate count. So no matter what happens tonight, they are still going to be going full speed ahead until March 15th, trying to lock this down. Jake?
All right, Sarah Murray at Trump headquarters. He's already been projected to have won 4 primaries. Let's go now to the headquarters of the Democratic frontrunner, Hillary Clinton, also projected to have won 4 primaries this evening: Virginia, Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee. Jeff Zeleny, Hillary Clinton was able to stop Bernie Sanders' momentum in Nevada and then in South Carolina. She underlined the point this could be a big night for her as well.
I think there's no doubt about that, Jake.
We are
we're ganging up on you now.
7:59
about to have a bunch of poll closings.
20 seconds. And what she said, we're about to have a bunch of poll closings. We're talking about Massachusetts. We're talking about Alabama. We're talking about Tennessee. And we're talking about Oklahoma. Usual rules apply. At the top of the hour now, in less than 30 seconds, we will pause. We will show you the states where the polls are closing, and we will get the results hermetically sealed until this moment from our elections unit, calling these races again in isolation without regard to other calls. So here we are. We'll show you the polls closing at this hour. There they are: Alabama, Massachusetts, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. It is now 8 o'clock on the East Coast, and we are able to make the following projections. Let's bring them on the screen. In the state of Massachusetts, on the Republican side, NBC News and MSNBC are projecting, when all the votes are counted, Donald Trump will have won Massachusetts. On the Democratic side, too early to call, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders vying for the lead. In Alabama, down south, Donald Trump, the projected GOP victor. On the Democratic side, we are projecting a victory by Hillary Clinton. Up north in Tennessee, Donald Trump, the projected victor. On the Republican side, again, for the Democrats, Hillary Clinton, the projected winner. And to the Middle West we go, Oklahoma. On both sides of this, the Democratic race and the Republican race, too early to call. We have some intel based on raw vote coming in. Sanders is in the lead if we took a snapshot of Oklahoma right now. Rachel, there you have it for the 8 o'clock hour Eastern Time.
It's very interesting. And both of those Democratic races where it's too early to call, in Oklahoma and Massachusetts, I believe we're characterizing both of those with Sanders having a lead, even though it's too early. In Oklahoma, we've been hearing over and over again from the Cruz campaign that they don't think they're just competing in Texas tonight, that they think they've got a toehold at least in Arkansas and in Oklahoma. Again, we've got too early to call between Trump and Cruz there in Oklahoma. So this is, obviously the front runner's night still, both on the Republican side and the Democratic side in terms of states that have already got their projected winners. But in terms of the states that we don't have calls in, the other candidates here who aren't front runners are doing what they wanted to be doing.
That's right. They have exhibits B and C now in the argument they wanted to make to their supporters. Yeah. I got a note, start talking about Trump crowds, and all of a sudden Trump supporters send you numbers. People lined up at 6:30 this morning for his events today. The report is that, and Katie Tur has alluded to this too, that his crowds were giant and growing in enthusiasm. So even if, to keep the big focus on it, even if Cruz and Rubio notch strong seconds, they're still not winning these states. Trump is still the dominant figure in the Republican primary.
He's already tonight won Georgia and Alabama and Massachusetts and Tennessee, and people are fighting it out for second. We'll see about the states that are still too early or too close to call, but,
but he's
winning.
Well. Yeah.
Eugene, for a guy who said he didn't know the definition of ground game just weeks ago, this would require a ground game.
Yeah, right. And he has a ground game, and he has momentum, and he has intangibles, and he has a message. I mean, it's not a message that we're accustomed to hearing. He gives it in a way that we're not accustomed to hearing, but he is connecting with people in a way that others, frankly, just are not.
And I think where we hear a scandal about the KKK and talk about it incessantly for 3 days, his supporters hear a stump speech focused on other things. And they're aware of a scandal that they view as a media scandal, but because that's not the focus of his speech to them, because that's not what they lined up at 6:30 in the morning to hear. He doesn't talk about those things in his speech. They see that as another example of how he's got these forces stacked against him. And if anything, they double down in their commitment to him.
And we're going to be hearing from him at a press conference, and notably not a speech tonight at his home in Florida, Mar-a-Lago.
Two interesting decisions.
Where he says he has a surprise to let us in on.
I mean, it's a surprise anyway that on Super Tuesday we've got a front-running candidate who's not going to give any sort of victory speech. He's just doing a press conference. That itself is a surprise. But he says he's also going to have some news to make at that press conference, and we don't yet know what that's going to be. I want to bring Chris Matthews into the conversation from Texas, from his rowdy/friendly crowd there in Texas. Chris, we just got word that on the Republican side, Donald Trump is the projected winner in Alabama, Massachusetts, and Tennessee. We're characterizing Oklahoma as too early to call between him and Ted Cruz. What's your reaction?
Well, it seems like we're seeing the pattern of the situation of the Republican Party writ large now, or rather in replica. You see, the most conservative state is probably going to be Texas, which probably will go for the home guy, Cruz, tonight. We don't know that yet. We won't know until 9. But on the other states, the more moderate, of course, Virginia he's fighting it out with Rubio. And, of course, the much more moderate state of Massachusetts, he's fighting it out with, or Vermont, rather, he's fighting it out with Kasich. So all through the spectrum of the Republican Party, from center to hard right, you're seeing in each case someone doing pretty well in those categories. But no one candidate taking them on across the board. And that's the problem for the Republican Party. Only one candidate is able to appeal to hard conservatives, centrist conservatives, and more moderate Republicans. And that's, unfortunately for them right now, as they see it, the establishment is Donald Trump. And you're seeing it all happening tonight. He will lose in a number of places, perhaps, but not to one person.
Chris, we have some incremental news. We want to roll show you the statewide board for the state of Vermont. An hour ago, we came on and said it was too early to call on the GOP side. We are changing the characterization to too close to call, as you see on your screen, between Donald Trump and John Kasich. This is obviously an interesting development for the Kasich campaign, as we've been discussing, under pressure from unnamed people in Washington to winnow down the Republican field by one. John Kasich made the decision to spend a bit of time in Vermont.
That's right. And his spending totals are fascinating heading into Super Tuesday. You get these little giblets of information ahead of these big nights where you find out who spent what where. And John Kasich's ad spending in Alaska, Massachusetts, and Vermont doesn't look like a Republican contender. But if he's one of the few people who pulls out a win tonight, not named Donald Trump, that will be vindicated a little bit. There's one other thing that I want to explain tonight just about the logistics, which is specifically about Texas. Obviously, Texas is the big kahuna tonight in terms of delegates. Texas is also really big, so much so that it's got a couple of time zones. And most of Texas has stopped voting at this point. It is the far western part of the state, El Paso part of Texas, that is still going to be open. They're still going to be voting until 9. So there'll be an interesting thing that you see in the sort of lower third of our screen that you may start to see over the course of this hour. Some vote totals come in from Texas. We may even get a lot of vote total come in from Texas, because so much of the vote in Texas is expected to be early vote. And that is the sort of number that we can start to get from the Secretary of State's office in that state, even though there are still some polls in the western part of Texas that are still open. So don't be confused about that. All polls in Texas will close at the top of this next hour at 9 o'clock Eastern. But if you're in the El Paso region and you haven't voted yet, don't worry. Your polls are still open tonight.
That would include my brother who lives in El Paso. Steve Kornacki is